Super Saiyan 3 Goku does a whole lot of everything, but how should you build his hidden potential? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are taking a look at the Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku, one of this year's major Golden Week units, and taking a look at what we think is his best possible hidden potential build, because this guy kind of does a little bit of everything. So let's start by taking a look at his passive and his full kit. So he is a Majin Buu Saga Otherworld Warriors Accelerated Battle lead for 170%. He has an additional 30% to Kamehameha or Time Limit category. On his 12 key, he's got a greatly raising attack and defense ability. He also has a high chance of stunning the enemy. Really effective for some of these shorter fights where you can debuff the enemy, like in the new Buu Zone. Now, we also have an entrance animation that activates once only. During activation, you have a chance of performing a critical hit 50% for 5 turns from the character's entry turn, and reduce damage received by 90% upon his entry turn. And with each turn passed, lower that rate by 15%, no more than 90%, as long as there's another Majin Buu Saga ally on the entry turn. He gets Key 2 and attack and defense 150%. He has an additional 150% attack and defense when performing a super attack. He reduces damage received by 5% with each super attack performed, up to 30%, with a medium chance of performing a critical hit. He launches additional attacks that have a great chance of becoming a super attack, and when there's another Majin Buu Saga ally attacking in the same turn, he has an additional defense 100% and guards all attacks as the first attacker in a turn, and an additional 100% and launches an additional super attack as the second or third attacker in the turn. He has a high chance of nullifying Ki Blast supers. Now, he does have an active skill that will massively raise his attack temporarily and cause ultimate damage to the enemy within the turn that it is activated, and all attacks will become critical hits during that turn. So, knowing that, the question is, how do you build this guy? Well, he's basically got guaranteed crit, or pretty close to guaranteed, right? He's got 50% from his active from his entrance turn. He's got critical hit, medium chance on top of that, and then he also has guaranteed crit on his active skill turn. So if there's one thing you don't need on this guy, it is critical hit. So then the question is, how should you build him? Well, taking a look at the hidden potential system here, right? We know that because he is AGL, he already has additionals built in, which means if you lean into those additionals as a, right, as sort of his full builds, you'll end up with a 20 hidden potential nodes, which would place you at about 40% extra chance to do an additional super attack. I would say that this, combined with the additionals that he has built in, make for a pretty potent combo, especially when you consider the following, right? He has 150% on super attack, which doesn't sound all that crazy until you realize that he is greatly raising attack and defense with each super. So if he performs 3 supers, that is a 50% attack and defense raise each time he does that, right? Add on to 150% onto that 150%, right? You're talking about nearly triple the power by the time you get to that 3rd super. It's pretty powerful combo. If you chuck this guy in slot 3 where he's getting another additional attack 100%, or slot 2 for that matter, then, right, the dude can put up some numbers. We've seen him do it. We've seen him do it well. So I would say the priority for his hidden potential is more than likely going to be the additional super attack, because that's how you're going to get the most out of his offense. So then the question then lies, where do you put his sub his sub hidden potential nodes. Do you invest in critical hit or evasion? Well, that kind of depends on where you plan on using him, right? Because in shorter fights, he's got this 90% chance, or not 90% chance, he has 90% damage reduction, which basically means that for the first 6 turns of a fight, he's nearly invincible, especially post-super. He's not going to get touched by anything for about the first 6 turns. So you could, right, because theoretically you only have a 50% chance and then a 30% chance until the active skill turn. You could invest in critical hit just to kind of ensure that you help finish those fights faster. This is also helpful when you are running him next to this guy, because you want to be dealing a lot of damage, because you don't want this guy to have to worry about dodging too many things, right? Well, a couple attacks here and there in slot 2 is probably good, but otherwise you probably want to make sure that this guy is dealing some damage, which he can do very well if he has some critical hit in slot 1, because he does lose that 100% attack when in slot 1. So you could go critical hit to kind of make up that difference. It won't make up the full 100% difference, but the extra damage on a critical hit could definitely make or break certain things for his partners. Now, the other consideration, maybe you don't have this guy, but you do in fact have this guy. This guy supports for critical hit for these early turns, so you don't need the extra critical hit, in which case, right, his next sub would be an evasion, right? The reality is the amount of evasion he can get from doing that is the max of what? I think 9 as an AGL, maybe a little more if you invest some skill orbs. That's still going to net you barely less than 10%, right? Because a full 15 is going to get you 15% dodge. So, I mean, depending on how much extra dodge you can get into him with this as your sub, all right, you're going to be less than 10%. Doesn't do much, but I guess it's kind of a nice to have. So it's not, the reality is, I mean, he doesn't need crit. I mean, with some of his best partners, they're supporting him for crit. If you're running them on some of these other teams, like with the UI Goku, if you're on JP, or, you know, for us coming up on Global, that's coming up soon, UI Goku gives allies crit, so crit may not be necessary for him. So I would say, all in all, looking at everything he's doing, additionals is the priority, with dodge as his sub, right? Even though it isn't much, it's better than nothing. And then critical hit as the last possible choice, just because, again, he doesn't really need it. Though, to be fair, with 90% damage reduction, he doesn't need evasion either. But like I said, I guess it's just nice to have. So this one was actually pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward how you should build this guy. Additionals all the way. So if you've got a dupe, 69%, you got the 79%. Hey, maybe you went for rainbow. Definitely go that direction with the additionals. It's going to help you out a lot. So, guys, that is it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let me know, how did you build your AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku? I feel like additionals is the right way to go, but I'm curious, what are y'all thinking? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.